Right. So joining us today here at Thornwood High School, home of the top performing arts music program in the city of Chicago. We have a special guest joining us today. She is on the Mount Rushmore of all-time greats from the world of the performing arts in the proud 152-year legacy of Los Angeles, California. She possesses the grace of Billie Holiday, Josephine Baker, and Dorothy Dandridge, and the elegance of Beyonce, Halle Berry, and Lena Horne. She is an all-time legend on the Broadway stage, TV, big screen, and right now iconic R&B Rock Nation superstar. We need all hands on deck to give a huge, warm South Side of Chicago welcome to the real life version of Wonder Woman, Tinashe.
Hi, that was so sweet. Thank you so much. Hey, everyone. How
No,
are you?
We're
thank,
doing well. How about you?
Excellent.
thank,
Good to
Happy
thank,
hear.
to be here. Thank you for having me.
no, thank you. And then also joining us, we have the band director from Martin Luther King College Prep, who you know from last year, Benjamin Washington. and shortly we'll also have students from HBCUs, University of Arkansas Pine Bluff, joining us as well. So you have fans everywhere, Tinashe.
Amazing. This is awesome.
And our special SCJR Educational Initiative correspondents joining us today is Mariah Webster, honor roll sophomore student from Howard University, home of the Lady Bison. Hey, Miss Webster. And Sierra Evans, honor roll senior HBCU student from Morgan State University, our entertainment correspondents today as well.
Amazing. Pleasure to meet you. Well, see you.
Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule. My first question is, as I ask all of our guests, how do you how have you been able to get through this tough year over the past 11 months? I think we're approaching the 1 year anniversary of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Just,
Um, how have you personally, you and your family, um, gotten through this tough stretch in our country?
yeah, I mean, it's been a difficult year for all of us. I think we've all collectively experienced a big shift in how we go about our daily lives. So to say that my typical life structure was disrupted, I think is pretty common response. But yeah, my whole lifestyle definitely changed. I went from performing, a few times a week, traveling a few times a week at least, to obviously none, and being at home and having to kind of deal with that. Just what am I gonna do with all of this time? And for me, I really turned to music and turned to being creative, and that was an excellent outlet for me. For the beginning of the pandemic, that was where I completely spent most of my focus. I have a studio in my house, so I'm really lucky about that. I was able to just kind of dive in and create an entirely new project. So I used that to my advantage, that I wasn't traveling, I wasn't focused on other things, made this whole project. But I also, my output started to, pile up, build up. So I also, over this year, I guess, learned a lot how to pace myself as well, and to, yeah, really be patient, and to even, I think further, it's caused me to go deeper into the art and to push myself even further in terms of the creative and making sure that everything is on point. It's brought out the perfectionist in me for sure.
Mhm.
Um, so from creative perspective, that's really how I've been dealing with it. But I've also been lucky that, my family is 10 minutes away at my parents' house. So that's really where I spent my time was just between here and my parents' house, and being able to see them all the time, nearly every day, definitely made it less lonely, and it was easier to get through like the real lockdown. Now, I'm still really much focused on the creative and focused on what I'm going to do next in terms of, I mean, that's what I always kind of am
Yeah.
like. And I'm always kind of looking at the next thing and kind of planning ahead, getting excited for even the possibility of maybe touring next year, just starting to think about all these things in a little bit longer time frame than I probably would have in the past. But yeah, just getting excited.
Where did you inherit your monster work ethic from? Obviously, your mom and dad are longtime educators,
Yeah.
both phenomenal parents. Got a chance to speak to your mom a couple of years ago. Where did you inherit that monster work ethic from your parents? What is your source? What is that outlet that you get that monster? Because one thing about Chicago and why you're so beloved in the city of Chicago um is the youth respects and admires your artistic integrity, and just over the years you don't allow anybody to outwork or outcompete or out hustle you. So where did you get those intangibles from?
Yeah, I give my parents a lot of that credit for sure. They built everything. They gave me all the opportunities. That this was never a situation where like I had a lot of family connections or grew up with money or opportunities like some other people in Hollywood. For me, my parents grew up in Iowa and they met in the Midwest and they moved out to LA when I was 7 years old because I, wanted to pursue this big dream and give it a try. And their plan was to be out there for 2 years. And then as I started booking jobs, we ended up staying longer. And I think even from that age, just realizing how much my work ethic, I guess, or like working was impacting my family in a positive way. Um, I think that it always just was something that we did in our household. We worked really hard and everything kind of then would fall into place because of that. Like there was abundance at the end of working hard and putting effort into things and taking chances, taking risks. So for me, always having this plan A mentality and having my parents really affirm from a young age that having this dream and having these goals, it was something that they took seriously when I was even like a kid, made me really take that seriously and always really value what my career had to offer.
Yeah, definitely. um Professor Washington, Mr. Washington, did you want to I think you have a student question you want for
Sure, I have several of them there. Load me in with a lot of questions for you.
Awesome.
Um,
Bring it on.
Jemiah Stafford, freshman here at King College Prep Band. She wants to know who are your musical inspiration?
My musical inspirations, my biggest one is Janet Jackson. But I'm really inspired by her kind of all encompassing as a performer artist. It's more than just the music itself. While I think the music itself is amazing because she has all of this range. She can do stuff that sounds like R&B. She could do stuff that sounds like pop. She could go up tempo. She could go slow. She could get sexy. She can get powerful. She's always dancing. She puts on an amazing show. Her performance is unmatched. Her concepts are amazing. Her albums are artistic. So she just checks all the boxes for me. So Janet Jackson was always my biggest inspiration. And then some other musical inspirations for me growing up were Britney Spears, Sade. I love Christina Aguilera back in the day. Destiny's Child. I was listening to all that stuff growing up. So that's probably who I would credit as my top inspos. But I love music. I'm a music fan. So it's hard to pick like your number one inspirations, because there's so many people that I'm inspired by, and still to this day I'm constantly inspired by other artists.
Mm.
All right. Do we keep asking?
Yeah, keep 'em coming.
Okay. David Abdullah from King College Prep Band. Do you feel like you ever reached a lowest drought point in your career? And if so, how did you overcome it?
I think there's highs and lows for sure. There have definitely been times where I've felt like I was maybe at one of those low points. And to me, the best way that I overcame that was, it's more mental than anything actually that I maybe accomplished. I think that a lot of this industry is a mental game, and that's why a lot of people don't, have long-term careers, because it's really hard, honestly. It's really difficult to continue to find, especially as an independent artist. That's the other thing, is I became an independent artist more recently. So it's hard to, for just a number of reasons, whether it be psychologically, whether it be the competition, whether it be finding support for your music long term, also, yeah, a number of factors. But I think the way that I overcame any of the low points was to realize that, or to remember why I initially create music in the first place, which is to inspire people, which is to get my message across, to be a creative, because it means something to other people and to connect people. And once you really kind of hone in on that and like tap into your purpose, it brings all of the other factors. They don't matter as much in terms of like sales numbers or anything else that maybe would affect your perception of like a low point. So yeah, it's all about just knowing that what you bring is special, having that knowingness, having that confidence that your instinct, your art, your intuition is going to drive you in the direction that you're meant to take, and just going with that.
I agree. I agree. Okay, Malachi Dildy from King Band and Kiana Watkins, twofold. What was your favorite acting job? And Kiana wants to know what was the favorite role?
That's a good question. I don't feel like I've been asked that in a while. My favorite acting job. I've had some really fun. You know what? I'm gonna say 2.5 Men. That was fun because it was a sitcom.
Oh yeah.
Be on. It was a really interesting mix of filming a TV show, and there was a live audience. I was working with people that were considered like legends in the sitcom world, like Charlie Sheen.
Michael
Just seeing them
Clark
at work.
Duncan
Michael
was your
Clark Duncan's so
dad.
funny. Yeah, amazing.
May him rest in peace. Legendary
A
actor.
legend, absolutely. So just being a part of that was really special and really fun. It was just all around fun and good energy. So I'm gonna say that.
I do have to add that Michael Clark Duncan, he was a student at King High School as well back in the day.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
wow.
he was a Jaguar.
Oh wow. That's
Played
amazing.
football as well.
Oh wow.
Dude who
Wow.
looks like a play
Wow.
football.
Oh wow. Small world, man. Um, I'm gonna ask one more question, and then I'm gonna pass it to our entertainment correspondents, Mariah and Sierra. What was the inspiration behind All Hands on Deck? I also run an after school fashion runway program. I believe I told you that before. And one of our latest fashion shows that we did live via video Zoom, of course. The students wanted to walk to All Hands on Deck
Yeah, that's
because
their
of the
favorite.
yeah. They love that song,
Wow.
especially the fashion runway folks in Chicago. So
Yeah.
so what was the inspiration behind that track?
Honestly, I'm always surprised by how much of a fan favorite that song is. Because it wasn't like a hit like Two On was, but it still has that impact over time. I feel like people always reference that Two On, or All Hands on Deck is one of their favorites. And I think for me, it when I made the song, I remember I was in New York City.
Mm-hmm.
I was working with Stargate, who are this duo producer.
Yeah.
We made a few songs, but they're like legendary. So those studio sessions were like really awesome. I felt like I was like in my zone, like writing, and yeah, it was just like good vibes. And I don't really remember having any specific thoughts in terms of like the direction for the song. I just remember we were just trying to make like a banger. Like sometimes that's just the intention going into the studio. You're like, let's just make like a slap, like,
Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah, it was easy. But I think also that song, it just has that good energy, and that's why I think it's connected to people over time, is because it just feels like free and like liberated. The lyrics themselves are about kind of just liberating yourself from a relationship out, but it has this tone of like positivity. It doesn't feel like a breakup song. So I love songs like that too, because you can relate to them, because we've all been through stuff, but then they also make you feel good. So you get both things at the same time.
Oh, okay. Scjr. Scjr from Morgan State University, HBCU, Go Bears.
Wow.
Go ahead. Oh,
Starter. Oh, my bad. I was on mute about to talk. I had to take
Oh,
a
no.
minute right there. But how's it going? Well,
Fantastic.
good after talking to us, right? But just for starters, thank you. Like you said, we are big fans. Guess I'm Sierra J. Evans. That's a little spill.
Pleasure.
So to start at the beginning, Mr. Coleman mentioned your parents being a big impact in your life. If I'm not mistaken, they were longtime educators. How important was school growing up due to that background of your parents?
So this is really interesting. I think that this kind of ties into my personality a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of mentioned this before, but to kind of get more specific, I grew up having a really strong value for school, for education, and also even above that, just doing the best you could and working as hard as you could. And like my mom has like all these degrees. She's like a doctor. My dad, being a professor. It seemed natural to me that these things were important. So in school, in elementary school, middle school, it was so important to me to like be the best in the class, like have the perfect project, like stay up all night and make sure that the details were just like excellent, and valuing that at such a high standard. And it was really an interesting time in my life when I was about 16, where there was kind of a shift where I realized that putting all of this energy that I was putting into my education class, studying all of these things, wasn't aligning with my ultimate goals. And I didn't feel like I had the space or the energy to be able to give myself 100% to entertainment and to give myself 100% into school. And so that was like a really interesting crossroads, I feel, in my life, because it was something that I always had done really well and valued at like such a high regard. But I knew instinctually that my path was, music. And I was already working at the time. I would leave school for like 6-8 months at a time to go like film a TV show and have to come back. And it was just kind of hard to do set school because I went to public school, and that's just weird to get your schoolwork in like a packet and like have to study or teach yourself. It wasn't like for me. So that was a time in my life where I also realized how much my parents respected what I did and valued what I did career-wise, because they basically agreed with that at the time, that this was what I should be focusing on. And they allowed me to make the separation from going to school. And then I left public school at that point and like tested out, got my GED, and basically started focusing full time on my career. So it's really ironic that they're college professors and that this was, you know, something that was so highly regarded, and I didn't even go to college. But it meant so much to me, I think, also in forming not only self-confidence, but like my path as an artist, because they had that belief system in me that I could take this seriously, that this wasn't just, you know, me just like not wanting to go to school, that this was something that I would give my whole self to. And I did, and I have, and that's been, um, I appreciate them so much for having that kind of foresight, because I don't think a lot of parents would have done that. Um, they wouldn't have done that like with my brothers or something. You know, we're different. So I think that it's kind of interesting how that happened.
Yeah, that's really cool. It's a shout out to you, but it's a big shout out to your parents, because it takes a lot to tell your children to really follow their heart and fully invest in them, even though it may not be their track or they
Absolutely.
made up in their head for you. So I always commend parents who are really, really big on individuality. My mom's definitely one of those people, and my dad has sort of jumped on the bandwagon. The older I got, the more
Great.
he
That's
became
great.
acceptance. So that's really good to hear. Now, earlier also when you were talking to Mr. Coleman, you were saying Janet Jackson was one of your big inspirations. Now that's beautiful. When I hear people say people like Janet Jackson are their inspirations, my mind goes straight to, oh, they're not only talented, they wear multiple hats.
Yes.
So is it true that you were studying ballet, tap, jazz at the age of 4?
Yes, absolutely. I got into dance classes at 4 years old.
Uh-huh.
I started with ballet and tap. Those were my first ballet, tap, and jazz. Those were like the core three. And I grew to the point where I was in a dance company when I was about 11, through when I was 18, and I was dancing upwards of 10 hours a week. So that was just, again, just something that I was always just giving myself to, and like diving into performing. And still, dance is such a huge aspect of what makes me an artist, and what I feel like sets me apart as an artist, because it's truly how I express myself a lot of times on stage or in my videos, is just through movement and through dance. So it's interesting also, even to this day, during the pandemic, I've been taking ballet classes on Zoom and just trying to, you know, continue to train and like stay active, since I haven't been rehearsing and doing shows. So yeah.
Now that I know I keep saying that's a beautiful thing, but that is another beautiful thing, because I really do miss videos when they were out there dancing, like
Me too.
actual dancing. Like it wasn't the little, the walls they're doing on TikTok. It was more so real choreography. So
Absolutely.
I'm looking for that video. I'm just letting you know that right now. I'm gonna be waiting on you. And to keep it going on, growing up, since you had to like leave school and do what you do, I'm sure students were like, oh my gosh, she's amazing. Did you ever battle cyberbullying or kids that may have been a little envious of you during this time? And if you did, how do you handle that? Because our students need to know how you handle the haters.
Yeah, I mean, yes. At the time, honestly, people did not think it was cool. People thought I mostly interpreted it as it just made me different from them. And at a time in your life when people are so vulnerable to wanting to fit in and to try to be like other people, it wasn't necessarily a plus to be having a career. And the switch happened around middle school. I would say it happened around like age 13, 13, 14, 15.
Yeah.
It really just, I felt a lot of the times like an outsider in my group of friends at school. I did not feel like I was ever popular, like I was ever considered cool. And so I honestly, that made me dive even more into my career and want to focus on that even more and care less about wanting to fit into my high school. I definitely didn't find like a group there. I had my best friend that I still have now. She's still my best friend since we met in second grade. So I had that always, but I never had like a big friend group. I never like really like was it in high school or middle school. So yeah, I found myself through my art, and that was really where I always focused. And at the time, I just remember reminding myself that this was like a very temporary thing that I was going through, and to not let that consume me. That, you know, high school is temporary, middle school is temporary, college is temporary, and that everything in life is temporary, and you have to honestly enjoy it as much as you can for the time being, and get as much out of it as you possibly can, because yeah, it's always evolving and adapting. So yeah, I definitely, and I think also just growing up in the social media era, especially kind of when a lot of these apps were new, like being like one of the first people on like Twitter, or, you know, when just things were just like wild, like they still are, but you know, all these apps just kind of becoming really popular, Instagram being new, all these things. There's definitely cyberbullying. There's definitely a growth process for me in terms of learning how to deal with negative comments, reading these things online. I mean, we're human beings, so I think we naturally get affected by stuff that we see. Stuff can be triggering online. I still deal with it every day as like an adult woman. Like I see stuff online, I'm like, oh my God, I'm just like so triggered right now. Just for seeing one thing on like Instagram or something, you know, one comment or something, and you just like start to spiral. But you get better at it. And it's something that you continuously practice. That's the best thing that I can say, in terms of what you really take to heart, or what you really allow yourself to dwell on or think about. You practice seeing a lot of negative stuff. You practice not, you know, just being able to pass through it and not really even pay attention to it. You get way better at it. And you also learn which apps to avoid, and like which situations to like just log out. Sometimes you just gotta log out.
I definitely
put the app away.
I took 3 things from all that you said, and I want to recap on those so that everybody
Okay.
can. Now, one, you took what was negative and you made it positive. That was, we all got to do that. Things are temporary, which we're living in the now. It's not gonna matter 5 years from now. So keep that in mind when you're going through the motion. Live to the fullest. Third thing, know when to log out. I really need to learn. I know it was the last thing you said, but hey, I see a remaining time. And I'm gonna wrap it up as soon as because I don't want to take all your time. I know Mariah has questions.
Thank you so much. Those are great.
No problem. I am gonna follow you though. My name is Scjr.j. So.
I will look for you on which app? On Instagram, on Twitter?
Instagram.
Okay, perfect.
For sure. All right, Mariah, take it away.
That's the Chicago version of Tamron Hall Oprah right there, Miss Evans.
Love it. Amazing.
Yeah. Mariah Webster from the Howard University has a couple of questions for you.
Yes. Hi. It is a pleasure to be speaking with you, Tinashe. So I'm just going to jump right into it because we are running short on time. Now, this can be in regards to the industry or just in general. Who gave you your best piece of advice, and what was the advice?
Okay, the one that always sticks out in my memory, probably because like she is iconic, but also because it's just really good advice. I was at a party, a fashion week party one time, and Madonna was there.
What?
And I think I don't 100% remember like how it went down, so I must have been drunk. I think this is what happened. I was drunk, so I was bold. So I just went up to Madonna. I think we were introduced. I believe we were introduced by Alexander Wang, but I still said to like Madonna, like, oh my God, you're Madonna. This is amazing. It's so incredible to meet you. Can you give me some advice? I think I asked her that. Or she just unsolicited told me this advice, but either way, she told me this advice. She said, I have two things to tell you in terms of, I have 2 pieces of advice. One, don't compare yourself to anyone. And 2, don't take shit from anyone. And I was like, that's iconic.
Yeah.
So I remembered that for sure. And to this day, I think that that's not only great advice for an artist, but just great advice for life. Like, you can't compare yourself to other people. Doing that is, again, something that will drive you crazy, absolutely insane, because you're not like anyone else. And it's just, it's an impossible mission goal. It's not good. And when it comes to your art, to compare yourself to other artists is something that we all do as artists. And you see it especially come out when like Grammys roll around and things like this. And you see how the competition really affects these artists. Like, they're really hurt by like some of these things that happen. And then you realize that it's like, oh, it's all of us, you know, we're all dealing with this competition, this comparison, this game. We're all playing this game, if you will.
Yes.
Sometimes.
I love those pieces of advice.
You just can't, you know? So I remember that. And also, don't take shit from anyone. It's just like, duh, like, don't.
Yes, don't let anyone take advantage of you.
No, absolutely not.
Thank you, Madonna, because I absolutely love that. You know, in today's society, it's so easy to compare yourself through social media and things of that nature. So yeah.
Every day.
Madonna. If there was anyone in the world that you could collab with, who would you pick?
That's a hard question. I used to always say Andre 3000 because that would just be great. But I'm gonna switch it up today. And I'm gonna say Frank Ocean.
Oh, wow.
Yes. Love that. I can see that already. That would be such a vibe.
Yeah, that brother is so talented.
So talented.
So when it comes to performing, you know, I don't know. I've performed every now and then, and I get extremely nervous. How do you deal with anxiety and your nerves?
It's really interesting. I feel like this is my superpower. I don't get nervous.
What?
I've never got nervous. And you know, it's interesting now. I've just recently read some psychological stuff about how like nervousness and excitement are the same thing. So, like physiologically, in terms of like what your body does. So I feel like maybe I've just always interpreted it as I've been really excited. I always get really excited. I love being on stage. It feels like, oh my God, it's gonna be great. This is the best. I love this. So yeah, maybe I would say just change your perception of what those feelings are. It's not nervousness. It's you're excited. It's gonna be great. So yeah, I don't really get nervous.
Well, yeah, I'm gonna work on that because you're right. It is all about your mindset and how you choose to perceive it.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna ask one more question before I open it back up to the rest of the forum.
Okay.
What are some things that you hope to accomplish in the next 5 to 10 years?
5 to 10, that's a long time. So I feel like I could do a lot of things. The sky's the limit, honestly. I feel excited to see what I will do in the next 5 to 10 years, because I feel like my career could adapt dramatically. I don't know, like, who knows? Like, I'm always, I love to create things. I love to make things. So I'm just always working on the next thing or like the next move or thinking about what's going to happen. So I feel like my life and career will take a few twists and turns throughout. But I would say in the next 5 years, which is a little bit easier to pinpoint, I'll definitely mostly focus on just creating incredible albums. Hopefully, as soon as the world opens back up, incredible tours, be able to travel the world again. Like, that's just such a special, amazing thing to do, that I would recommend to anyone. Travel as much as you possibly can, especially now that we can't. It's so apparent to me how important that is. So I want to do a lot of traveling in the next 5 years.
Definitely, definitely.
Yeah,
We
for
we
sure.
we have a couple of brief questions I wanted to swing through right quick because I'm looking at the shot clock and Zoom don't play when it comes to that time. So
Oh, God, yeah.
two and it could be quick answers. Are
Okay.
you like every time I walk the streets of the south side of Chicago, everyone's always asking or it's much ballyhooed. Are you adding Chicago to your tour once the country opens back up? Because I believe you had two shows booked at the House of Blues Chicago last year, right before the COVID-19 pandemic forced the cancellation.
I absolutely have to because I have a lot of family in the area and they would be mad if they had to travel to another state to come see me. So I got aunts, uncles, cousins, all that live in Chicago. So I got to have a good Chicago show, of
Oh,
course.
okay, okay. What is your favorite track from your Christmas EP, Comfort and Joy?
Ooh, probably "Oh Holy Night" because that's just like such a special song already. So that song.
Okay, okay. And I was gonna say, so I'm gonna put you on the spot right quick. Who is the GOAT when it comes to dance choreography between Beyonce, Janet Jackson, or Paula Abdul, who coached Janet Jackson when she was a LA Laker dancer?
We're gonna have to go with Janet though, because her versatility though, you know, I'm gonna have to go with Janet.
Okay.
But
All right, cool, cool,
like
cool.
all of them are amazing, of course.
And on behalf of Thornwood High School and Martin Luther King College Prep, we would like to present you with our Chicago High School Honorary Teacher for the Day award.
Wow, thank you so much.
So,
I
so,
appreciate that.
so we got some swag, school swag that we'll be sending your way shortly.
Amazing.
Yeah. And is Miss Richardson from University of Arkansas Pine Bluff?
Yes.
Yes, I'm here.
Hi,
Hi,
how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Great.
Yeah. So thank you so very much. I know we're like 20 seconds before the Zoom expires. Please don't be a stranger. Please
Thank
join us
you for
again.
having me.
Please join us again before the end of the school year. And once you make it back out to Chicago, make sure you visit King College Prep, Thornwood.
Yes.
Thank you so much, guys. Nice to meet you all. Thank you, ladies.
Nice to meet you. Take care.
Have a great